And good day on this Monday, September. What are we up to? September
17th.
17th now. Holy cow. Welcome into Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Appreciate you joining us. We know you have choices wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. We appreciate you taking us along for the ride. We've got Justin Kalen high atop the crew chief's box, keeping the engine spinning around the track.
That's right.
Hope you had a great weekend. Hope everyone then the path of Hurricane Florence is doing as best they can. And any friends or relatives you may have. I have family that live in the Charlotte area. So our thoughts and prayers are with them. A lot going on. We got a lot to get to today, a big day. We've got a lot of people on the program. Drew Davis gets us caught up on a big recruiting visit. Sammy Jacobs gets us caught up on a big game over the weekend. John Boel, as always, from Wave 3 News, joins us. And Don Fischer on the program today as well. Big Monday, as always. But before we get to all that, let's get to the headlines with Justin.
All right, here are your headlines for this Monday, September 17th. Brought to you by Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart, located on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. Make sure you stop in for your hot breakfast, fill your gas tank, or hit up one of their daily lunch specials. $5.99 today, fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and green beans is your lunch special. Brad Keselowski wins for the third straight week, this time at Arlington, looking good heading into the playoffs. Bills defensive back Vontae Davis retires at half as the Bills trailed 28-6 yesterday. For the second consecutive week, we have a tie in the NFL as the Packers and the Vikings knotted up at 29 yesterday. And Tom Crean product Dwayne Wade will come back for his 16th and final NBA season with the Miami Heat. Those are your headlines for this Monday, September 17th, brought to you by Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart, located on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. $5.99 today. Your fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and green beans.
All righty. There you go. That sounds delicious. Big weekend. College, high school football. It started out Friday night. You had to call on the Floyd Central Jeffersonville game, a big win for Floyd. New Albany Columbus East. It locked in another battle. New Albany loses its second straight at home. Columbus has won I think 80 consecutive conference games. That's incredible.
That's stupid.
Incredibly stupid. Football over the weekend, lots of big games. Of course, Indiana, much anticipated game with Ball State after Ball State had given Notre Dame a run for their money, but who isn't giving Notre Dame a run for their money apparently.
Sure.
But Indiana handled Ball State handily, impressively to say the least if you were there. I thought it was very impressive. Peyton Manning clearly establishing himself as the guy.
Peyton
Ramsey. I said that the other day, too, and I'm like, he needs to change his name. Nobody should be allowed to call themselves Peyton, especially if they play quarterback.
Can't have a quarterback named Peyton ever again.
Nope, can't do it. Just got to call him Ramsey.
Instead of retiring his jersey number, we're going to retire the name.
I mean, that I've only said that name with the other name behind it for, 20 years?
Yep.
Golly.
Now you're just so accustomed to it. It's like muscle memory at this point.
It's just it's out before you even think. But Ramsey clearly established himself as quarterback QB1 for Indiana. The reason I say that is because the offense responded to him. He led them pretty well. There's some still things that we'll talk about that I'm not keen on. I think he still makes some mistakes. He's not strong down the field. But right now, he's the best quarterback that Indiana has to guide that team.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind. Michael Penix came on in the second half and played well, led him on a scoring drive right off the bat. But there was just a difference. I could feel a difference and see a difference between those two. They even got what's his name, the third-string quarterback in, junior walk-on, got some minutes. And let them on another scoring drive at the end of the game. So that was good for them. The defense played very, very well. They gave up an initial score, but it was only a field goal, and then didn't give up another one until the second half. So they played very well, both sides of the ball. And Notre Dame, tell me how they're ranked number 8. We'll go over the rankings. The rankings are out. The coaches' poll's out. But I want to know how in the hell Notre Dame is ranked number 8. They barely beat. I can't remember who they played their first game, but their second game they beat Ball State by a score. They were picked off 3 times. They was sacks, fumbles, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, Saturday they played Vanderbilt. They beat them by, 8, 7?
5.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What do I have? Yeah, they beat them by 5. So they're stretching, struggling to get by these teams. Yet this is a top 10 team.
Yeah.
Give me a break. If they're a top 10 team, then hell, what's Indiana?
Top 5. They beat Ball State by 28.
I'm telling you. But Indiana was a 14-point favorite in that game, and they did win by 28. So maybe Indiana's a little better than we think.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there yet because we're going to find out very quickly. We're 1 week away from finding out how good Indiana is.
Well, and that's the thing. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. I mean, Indiana is good. I have no doubt about that. But, I mean, this is exactly where we thought they would be 3 games into the year. We talked at nauseum before the season started that they should be 3-0 going into the Michigan State game.
Well, before we get too far into Indiana, because we're going to be talking about them, we've got Don Fischer on the show. I've got Sammy Jacobs on the show. I get into it, too. I can go on it, don't worry. But Devontae Davis of the Bills retiring at halftime. Are you kidding me, man?
What a clown.
What a jackass. He's up for Jackass of the Year now with that. I don't care how bad they suck.
He just said he didn't feel like he needed to be out there anymore.
Well, I hope they only pay his ass for half a game.
They shouldn't pay him for any of it.
It's a joke. He didn't play the first game. So, but that's pathetic.
Yeah.
I mean, that is one of the most unprofessional and pathetic things an athlete can do. I mean, my God. You can't wait to the end of the freaking game, you loser.
Right.
You're a loser. He's a loser.
I mean, what could he have been doing better? Like, what would have came across his mind to be like, I think I'm just going to leave and go do this?
A pro football game. We're not talking about golf down at the local links here. This is an NFL game. Wow.
Crazy.
Unbelievable. And then how about another tie in the NFL? When's the last time that happened?
I don't know if it ever has.
I don't know that it's ever, for sure, in the first 2 weeks.
I'm surprised I didn't see a stat about it.
Well, wasn't there a stat yesterday you said, not yesterday, but with the last week's tie, it was the first time in the opening week.
Since like 71?
Yeah, so there's no doubt that if it has ever happened, it's been a long time.
I can pretty much guarantee it's never happened back-to-back weeks on weeks 1 and 2.
So that's kind of amazing.
And the funny thing is, me and one of my buddies were arguing all
Sounds
week.
like a song. Me and my buddies arguing all week.
We were arguing about who was going to win, Packers, Vikings. All week we were putting our points out there. He was on Vikings, I was on Packers, and now we understand why.
Yeah, and then the Colts won.
They did. They looked good.
Got them a win, so they're getting back in sync. I'll tell you who else looked good. Jacksonville Jaguars. Yep. They took down the New England Patriots, although the New England Patriots, they kept trying to give New England every opportunity to come back in that game. But they handled them quite well.
The Jacksonville's legit. I tweeted out yesterday, they're finally the team I thought they were going to be 5 years ago.
What team did you think they were going to be 5 years ago?
Legit, like they are now. Really good. Defensive force. Blake Bortles playing okay.
Too legit to quit.
Yeah, they're not too legit to quit.
Big high school game over the weekend. Warren Central, they destroyed Ben Davis.
What was our line on? What line did we set on that, by the way?
Oh, you know what? I'm glad you brought all that up.
Yeah.
I got a page full of games to go over with you.
Come on.
First of all, let's get to the LSU and Auburn game.
That's a win for me.
No, I had LSU, thank you very much.
There's no way. There's no way you had LSU.
That's what it's got down here.
No, you wrote it wrong then.
And then the USC Texas, I had Texas. I had TCU, which I would have won that for a while had they not just erupted and scored all those. Ohio State scored all those points.
What was the spread, 7?
13.5.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, I had Ohio State.
Yeah, you did. I had TCU.
Yeah, I still won that. So I won all of them.
Did you really have? You didn't have. You had Auburn.
I had LSU.
I'm going to have to write them down next week.
Yeah, you are.
Can't be trusted.
As a matter of fact, that piece of paper I just threw away, I think that had the high school games on it.
Well, I know I lost all those.
Yeah.
Especially that Warren Central game.
I should have kept track. Whip your butt on that all year long.
David Bell had a very nice game on Friday.
Yeah, Tom Allen was there to see it.
Was he?
And the wide receivers coach. Yes, he was. They oh my God, they destroyed Ben Davis. They hung 70 points on them.
It's insane.
Do you realize? And Ben Davis beat Trinity to start this season.
Yeah. No, Carmel did.
Okay, that's right. Ben Davis beat them last year. Ben Davis was a state champion last year. They're last year's 6A state champion. They were undefeated. Undefeated last year. They just got 70 hung on them. Yeah. How about that? Wow.
Pretty crazy.
It's nuts.
Warren Central's good.
Well, yeah, they're good.
Real good.
Heck yeah, they're good.
Joker text in. If you want to do the same, 502-414-1450. Let us know whatever's on your mind after this big weekend. Says he thinks the big difference between Ramsey and Penix is experience and control of the offense. Penix is just so calm. Ramsey, rather, is just so calm. Maybe the game still seems fast for Penix, and he looks rushed and unsure of what to do.
That's pretty much a good assertion there of what's going on. Ramsey just seems more comfortable. He is more comfortable.
No, he's been in the offense longer.
He's been in the offense longer. The team, he is the leader. There is no doubt. He is the leader. He just doesn't have. Indiana just doesn't have a downfield game. That's just all there is to it with him in the game. I don't. The only. I can't think of a pass he threw over 15 yards.
He had about a 20-yarder to Westbrook at one point.
Was it a 20-yard pass or a run after the catch?
Nah, Westbrook caught it and fell to the ground.
That was for a first down, I remember.
But yeah, that was on
the Indiana sideline, I think. I remember that play. But that's the only bad part. They don't have, and you're going to need that. I mean, you need that against teams like Michigan State.
Yeah.
You've got to have something extra. You've got to have all facets of the game working to beat those kinds of teams. They've got the running game going. They've got the short game going. You got to have a long game. You got to have it. It's not something that you're going to use 30% of the game, but you got to have it.
Yeah.
It's got to be there. You have to have that ability. You have to stretch. You hear us talking about it all the time. You hear me talking about it all the time. You've got to stretch that defense. What that means is if you're running the ball, they're going to pack it up along the line of scrimmage. They're going to all squeeze in. But if you're throwing passes in addition to this, and I'm talking 25, 30 yards downfield, they have to respect that. So they have to loosen that up. They can't pack that line. It's called packing the box. They can't pack the box over the line of scrimmage and snuff out your runs and all of that. So they've done a great job mixing the offense with running and pass and balance, no doubt. They just don't have a downfield game. But he played very, very well. He looked very poised. I mean, I was impressed. And it wasn't just me that was impressed, obviously, because everybody seemed to see the same exact thing. It was weird how it took place. And then everybody was expecting a good game, which it was a good game, but I meant everybody was expecting a close game because of what they did with Notre Dame.
Yeah. I think there was a lot of factors that go into that Notre Dame game, though, that wouldn't have came in for Indiana. I mean, Ball State's not going to get up for Indiana the same way they would get up for a Notre Dame.
But I say Bull. I say they were up as much or more because of that Notre Dame game. They felt like they could have won that game or they were in that game. So now they're going to another in-state rival where they're a little brother to. So they're going to be up. They were coming in with a full boat of confidence, as they should have. But I don't think that the getting up for the game was a problem. I think they just got out.
I do think they were up for the game. That's not what I was saying at all. But, I mean, when you compare Indiana and Notre Dame, Notre Dame's historic. I mean, it's
from a fan. You're looking at it from a fan standpoint.
No, I'm just looking at it from a
player standpoint.
If I was a young player going to college and I went to Ball State and we get to play Notre Dame, I'm going to be way more excited for that Notre Dame game than I am for Indiana. Now, I'm not going to be down on Indiana. I'm going to be excited for both games, obviously. But
did you play?
No.
Okay, so I'm telling you, as someone who did, that does happen. What you're talking about absolutely does happen, and I get the point that you're trying to make, and it makes sense. It just, I don't agree that they had a problem getting up for Indiana any less than they did for Notre Dame. Because, yes, Notre Dame is more historic in name. But as far as the game, no. Because of what happened, I think that they came in maybe a little more up, thinking, hey, we actually have a chance to win this game. We've beaten this team before. So I don't think that that was the problem. I mean, like I said, I get what you're saying. It's not that it's not valid. It's just I don't agree with it. But they were definitely confident, but it didn't take long for Indiana to snuff that confidence out defensively and offensively.
Yep.
It was obvious that who the better team was, and very impressively that first half. Indiana only played second stringers on offense mostly in the second half, the entire second half. So there's that as well. Ball State didn't face that last week against Notre Dame. They faced the starting lineup the entire time. So great opening, or not opening, but a great way to cap the non-conference schedule. They go 3-0, man. They're halfway to bowl eligibility.
Yep. Right where we thought they'd be.
We'll talk more about that later on. We've got Sammy Jacobs on the show from Hoosier Huddle. Don Fischer, voice of the Indiana Hoosiers, also on with us today. Make sure you stay tuned for that. Coming up also, John Boel from Wave Through News. And next, up we've got Drew Davis from, not very next, but also on the program, DrewDavisandPeaks.com. Big recruiting visit over the weekend. We've got news on that as well. Stay tuned. More coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
If you're a homeowner and have storm damage to your roof, you want a hometown contractor you can count on and trust. Brooks Roofing of New Albany has been doing quality work since 2006. Check out their work for yourself at brooksroofingin.com. No job is too big or too small, commercial or residential. Brooks Roofing is probably working in your neighborhood right now. Visit brooksroofingin.com or call 812-868-ROOF. That's 812-868-ROOF. Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when nature strikes.
Got a problem with your big truck? Kentuckiana's Premier Truck Center is here to help. For over 30 years, truck drivers and fleet operators have depended on their great service center off I-65 in Clarksville. And now you can get the same level of service, repairs, and parts selection that's been offered for generations and save on bridge tolls with their new location on the Outer Loop in South Louisville. They're an authorized Mack, Volvo, and Hino dealer and service center, but they service all makes and models of trucks. Kentuckiana's Premier Truck Center.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle here on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1. Good day to you on this Monday, the 17th of September. Justin Kalen sitting high atop the crew chief's box with us.
That's right.
Also yesterday in the NFL, man, there's a couple other things. Did you see the shot on Cam Newton?
I did not. I heard a lot about it, but I didn't see it.
Baby, that is going to bring a healthy fine. He went into the slide feet first and just got pegged right in the ear hole. Yeah. Just right in that's going to cost the dude. I forget who it was.
I'm watching it now. Yikes.
Yeah, they got him pretty good.
Yeah, that is not good. DeMonte Kazee.
They were playing the Falcons. And, yeah, that left a lot of people pretty pissed.
He was ejected.
Well, yeah, it was a headshot.
Yeah.
Targeting. It happened in the Indiana game. They got a call for targeting. Well, nobody even saw this play in the Indiana game and said, hold on. They stopped the next play. So the previous plays bring under review for targeting. Well, it ended up being targeting, and they tossed the dude.
Wow. DeMonte Kazee, the guy who hit Cam Newton, was actually responsible for hitting Marquise Lee last year on a hit that ended Marquise Lee's season. So,
cheap shot artist.
Yeah, seems like it.
Well, Cam Newton, he said something about it. I derided it as a cheap shot, which it is a cheap shot. When you got a quarterback that is sliding feet first,
you can't. Yeah,
you got to leave him alone.
Just touch him.
You don't even need. Just
touch him with your hand and it's over.
I mean, it ought to be they don't even have to be touched. If they slide feet first, they're down. They've given themselves up. If they want to protect them, say they're all right, fine.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'll do this fake slide and run and all that crap.
That's actually a pretty good solution. The second they start to slide,
you
just
hands off.
Yeah.
But they can't, nothing can happen further.
No funny business, no fake.
Yeah, exactly. It's like last year. Remember we got into it about they did the fake.
Was it the fake spike at the Purdue game?
Yeah, not the Purdue game. It was a pro game. It was a pro game, but they did the fake spike, and I'm like, see, that's why you can't do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, because most of the time when they're doing the victory formation and you get a defensive guy giving them the business, and it looks like, oh, well, now see why you do. Well, it's because of these jacklegs that do that fake spiking.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do that. So it's kind of a. And the Browns, man, they almost won one. They just can't quite do it.
Cleveland has to wait another week for that beer.
Oh, John Gruden and the Raiders, they got beat on a last-second field goal.
His face during that was hysterical.
John Gruden?
Yeah.
He makes the great faces.
He's just sitting there at the end of the game like, well, damn it. Why did I get out of the booth?
And then how about Purdue? Did they end up losing that game?
They did. Yeah.
That's what I thought. I fell asleep, I guess. I was watching it. They played Missouri at home. They're 0-3, man.
Yep.
They got no shot at a bowl game. And they play in the West Division of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And they still have no shot. I don't think.
No, there's no way.
I mean,
they've got nothing but conference games left. There's no chance.
Yeah, they'd have to go 6-3 in conference play.
Which, not going to happen.
Not likely.
Yeah, they lost 40-37. Last second field goal for Missouri.
Man. Purdue had a touchdown called back, too, late in the game.
Yeah. Pretty controversial one.
Well, it was, because I'll be honest with you, since they called it a touchdown, I watched every play every time they showed it, and
there wasn't enough to overturn it.
I agree. I don't think there was enough to overturn it, but thank goodness they did, because Purdue loses the game.
They call it inconclusive evidence.
Yeah, but they sure didn't. They overturned it. I couldn't believe it. But Purdue loses to Missouri. They go 0-3. I'd say the honeymoon is definitely over up there in West Lafayette.
Is that the biggest shock in the Big Ten? Purdue being 0-3?
Yeah, to me.
Or Wisconsin losing to BYU this weekend.
Now, I'll take the 0-3 over, though. That was a shocker. But you've also – the Big Ten is looking like junk.
Yeah.
Michigan State's already lost. Wisconsin's lost. Purdue's 0-3. Nebraska lost again to Troy, no less. You know, Troy's beaten in successive seasons LSU and Nebraska.
Not bad.
On the road, my friend. That's a resume. Can you imagine being, where'd you play football? Troy. Troy. Oh, well, we beat LSU my junior year at LSU, and we beat Nebraska at Nebraska my senior year. Oh, really?
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's what whoever is a senior on that team, and maybe they did something the year before. I don't know. But I know they beat LSU last year, and I think it was homecoming for LSU. But now they knock off Nebraska. Boom.
Here's a stat for you on the Big Ten on Saturday. The Big Ten lost 7 non-conference games against unranked opponents Saturday. That was the conference's most such losses in a single day since the AP poll debuted in 1936.
Wow.
1936. The Big Ten has never lost 7 or more games against unranked non-conference opponents.
Wow. That's huge.
So that means there was, 5 Big Ten teams that won on Saturday?
Yeah, Indiana was one of them.
Indiana.
Ohio State was one of them. Penn State was one of them.
Michigan,
4, and I guess Michigan State won this time.
That's a good question.
I think they did. We'd be hearing about that because they're still ranked. I know they would be gone. The Indiana game, one of the most exciting parts of that game was Ja'Shawn Harris.
What a guy.
Man, last year he returned 2 punts early in the season for touchdowns, was one of the best in the country, goes down with his 3rd ACL injury of his career last year. And most people would have packed it in, but not him. He comes back. And so everybody's wondering, after 3 ACLs, how effective can you be? Especially back there in an electrifying position like that. You think of punt returner, you think of Deion Sanders and who was the guy for the Bears for the longest time, played for Miami. Golly. Can't think of his name, but I saw him return one live. But anyway, he lit it up on Saturday against Ball State for 85 yards. And then sitting in the press box, Don Fischer is always to my left, down at the very end. He's in the radio booth down there, and it's behind glass. They're enclosed. I've never heard Don Fischer, during a game. For the first time ever, I heard Don Fischer during a game while I was sitting in the press box outside of his room, outside of his little, the radio box. He was so excited on this call, and I haven't heard this call other than that, so I'm looking forward to hearing it. But let's hear. Here's Don Fischer calling Ja'Shawn Harris's punt return for a touchdown Saturday.
Game for either team, and this time in the ball game is Nathan Snyder to boot it away. And here comes the kick. Ja'Shawn Harris is back deep. He'll take it in at the 15-yard line, steps up, finds a little hole in the left side, 25-30, 35-40, 45-50. He's got a convoy. Ja'Shawn Harris is going to go all the way. Touchdown, Indiana!
Great call.
I love it.
I can still hear it. When he said Ja'Shawn Harris is going to go all the way, that's the part that I heard. It almost startled me because you're sitting up in the press box, and it's a very weird atmosphere. You've got this great football atmosphere going on out there, the sun's shining, people yelling, punt return, people are going nuts. We can't hear any of that. It's like a tomb. I'm not kidding. It's dead quiet. You have your own press box announcer that announces Stevie Scott scores on a 22-yard touchdown.
It's such a boring voice.
It's just to give you the information after the fact.
Like writers.
But during like when the national anthem is played, we cannot hear the national anthem through the glass. Cannot hear it. And they don't have it piped in either. So it's just silent up there.
Indiana would come in the NFL or what?
Well, I guess. But anyway, I've never heard Don Fischer while he's doing his call, and I'm not that far away from him up there. But I definitely heard it Saturday, and it almost startled me. I was like, what? Because it's so quiet up there, and you hear somebody yelling. I'm like, what the hell's that? And it took me just a second. We're like, oh, that's Don on this call. But it was wild. But, yeah, what an electrifying run. 85 yards by Ja'Shawn Harris. Clearly, the dude's a bionic man. 3 ACL surgeries the dude's had.
Unbelievable.
Packing it in still. That I forget that was the longest. That was one of the longest punt returns in IU history.
And I know he tied the school record for punt return touchdowns in history.
With what, 3?
3, yep.
Yeah, he had 2 early on last year, and we're still early on now. Who knows what may happen? He's an electrifying man. He's a game changer. That was a big part of the game. It was still early on, and that really kind of put a stake in him.
It's pretty incredible that a kid can come back from 3 ACLs. Not only that he can physically, but that he wants to mentally.
It boggles my mind.
Yeah.
Physically, the physical part of it, to be honest with you. It truly boggles my mind. But it shows you the difference. 20 years ago, first of all, that surgery would take you out for a year. Now, he's had 3 of them. Yeah. And he just returned a touchdown, 85 yards for a touchdown, or a punt, 85 yards for a touchdown. That's incredible. Yeah. We got to get to a break. When we come back, we've got Drew Davis from Peaks.com. We're going to be talking about a big recruiting visit over the weekend. The number 1 player in the 2021 class, Terrence Clark. He was in Bloomington. We'll talk about it. Stay tuned. This is Jim Coyle. When I'm not on the road covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 on the northeast side of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Bring the team in for that post-win meal in the family dining area or just meet friends for a happy hour. Bubba's has bold burgers, hand-tossed pizzas, mouth-watering wings, and a list of select local craft brewers for the coldest beer in town. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Burgers, pizza, beer. Today's guest is brought to you by Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when Mother Nature strikes. BrooksRoofingIN.com. Hey, welcome back to a Monday edition of Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle here on Big X Sports Radio 1450 96.1. Joined now by Drew Davis from Pigs.com. Drew, how's it going, man?
Oh, it's going about as good as it can for a Monday, man. How about you?
I hear you. Another big weekend of recruiting visit for Indiana. Archie Miller had the 2021 number one player up on campus this weekend, Terrence Clark. He was at the football game. I know several people saw him there, showing him around. And a great day for a football game and a great game for him to see. But a big visit, a big-time player to have on campus.
Yeah, Clark is about as big time as it comes. Number one player in the 2021 class, and just 6'7", 6'6", just really athletic, can shoot the basketball, tons of physical tools, a lot of skill, a lot to like about his game, and a player that may not even play college basketball down the line with the whole prep to pros thing that could be arising, but we'll see. There's a long way to go there. The visit, from everything I've told, I've heard Terrence really enjoy his time at IU, and at this point in time, there's not too much you can really do on a visit except kind of just show them what you have to offer, and Indiana did a good job of that, as they always do, and Clark enjoyed it, and he didn't get to spend like a ton of time on campus because he had to get back to Westfield for the middle school TV camp, but he definitely got to see some things, and anytime you can have the number one player of the 2021 class on campus, that's a big win for Archie Miller and his staff.
Absolutely. So we'll see how that turns out. Like I said, there's a lot of time now. He's in the class of 2021. Same class as Christian Lander, sophomore down at Evansville Rights, who Indiana just offered a scholarship to. But, yeah, it's you've got a lot of time. And now about then is when the one-and-done rule will probably be changed by the NBA, allowing players to go from high school to the pros. You mentioned that. That he may not even play in college.
Yeah, I mean, he's that talented of a guy, and that's kind of going to be a tricky thing for college coaches to figuring out how many of these big time prospects are going to be worth your time if they're going to go pro. So you got to figure out what guys are interested in going to college and what guys are wanting to just do this for a career. So it'll be a little tougher, and I'm sure you'll see some guys sign that get drafted by professional teams in the NBA, and that'll just be part of it. And college coaches will have to kind of suck it up and find other guys to kind of fill in behind those guys in classes. And it's definitely not going to be easy for college coaches, that's for sure.
Now we're only, I think, 2 weeks away from Hoosier Hysteria. So with that being the case, I think there are no more visits until then expected on campus. Is that correct?
There may be. It just kind of depends. Haven't heard anything about anything going on this coming weekend, but that can obviously change. But for Hoosier Hysteria, there'll be several big-time visitors in attendance for that, including Jameis Ramsey, Trace Jackson-Davis, and Keon Brooks.
I'd say this is, although it obviously in the Archie Miller area it's very short term, but overall for midnight for a Hoosier Hysteria, this has got to be one of the biggest groups of talent ever come to be brought in.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what I kind of like to do is I'll stack this group that's visiting this year up next to the one that visited last year, and I kind of want to see where it kind of stacks up and whatnot. And obviously last year you had a 5-star point guard Darius Garland, and then Romeo Langford, and then 2 5-stars below them, Keon Brooks and Trace Jackson Davis. So it'll be interesting to see if Indiana can kind of replicate that, so to speak, and if they can, it'll definitely be good for the program, and it's just going to be hard to get that much talent on campus like you did last year, because those were some talented dudes.
Well, one big thing is, and something that no other school will be able to say, at least in the state of Indiana, is they'll have 3 5-stars on campus, at least 3 5-stars on campus at the same time for Hoosier Hysteria with Keon Brooks and Trace Jackson and Christian Lander. Those guys alone are 5-stars, and there may be someone that I'm not even thinking of that's going to be there.
Yeah, and then you add Jameis Ramsey to that, who's a very nice player, and he was in Louisville this weekend, and I'm told that went well for him, and it'll be interesting to see what the Indiana visit can do to kind of maybe shift his thoughts or kind of catch his eye, because he's looking for a big-time field, big-time atmosphere, and I don't think it gets much bigger than walking across the court at Hoosier Hysteria, but it'll be interesting to see how much that's able to really open his eyes and make them, wide and see how much it impresses him.
Yeah, like I said, Hoosier Hysteria is now just 2 weeks away, so Indiana will have one of the biggest groups talent-wise they've had on there with those 3 5-stars. But the biggest thing is those are all 3 5-stars from within the state of Indiana. So that is huge, and that is something they may not have ever gotten done before either, having 3 5-stars on the campus at the same time from within the state.
Yeah, and then that's a big deal. I think that speaks to the state of Indiana's ability to have good players. And obviously 2019 you had 2 5-stars, top 20 guys, and 2020's down a little bit. It might be, it could be the first class where Indiana doesn't have a McDonald's All-American in almost a decade. It's certainly trending that way, but we'll let things play out and see what happens there. But 2021 is a very good class. It may not have a superstar at the top, but it has very good players and a lot of Division I players across the board there. And that's a class I'm very interested to see, to watch develop, because it's so deep, and I think that's one of the things I look for in a recruiting class: how deep it is, how many guys will play Division I basketball, and I think 2021 has a chance to put a lot of guys on Division I rosters.
These guys
and,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It'll just be interesting to see if that group can kind of turn out more Division I players in the group with the Jaquan Lyle, Trey Lyles, and James Blackman group. That was one of the deeper groups the state's at as well.
These guys have all been, they visited campus, but coming to Hoosier Hysteria, what's it going to be different? How's it going to be different for them and for their families on that night as opposed to just a visit on any other time?
Yeah, I wouldn't say Hoosier Hysteria is really a true unofficial. Like, there'll be players that come down for Hoosier Hysteria that will also come back and do a true unofficial because they want to spend time with the staff, especially those younger guys. Because Hoosier Hysteria, they won't have as much time with the staff because there are going to be so many 2019 guys there. So they'll come back later on some of them and whatnot. And Hoosier Hysteria is more so of a event. I know, like last year for Keon Brooks and Trace, they kind of just came down and just kind of went to the event, and that was it, and whatnot. So it's not too much outside of the event if you're doing an unofficial. But if you're doing an official, it'll be your typical weekend, where they take you around campus and show you all the stuff they have to sell, and you meet with the coaches and whatnot. So if you're on an official, there'll be plenty of face time with the staff.
I noticed off the subject of Indiana now, but Duke got a canceled visit they were expecting to have by one of the top players in the country, a player that they thought was going there. Now Clemson seems to be having their hands in on him. His name's drawing a blank. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now.
Oh, Josiah James.
Yeah. That was sending some ripples through the college basketball world.
Yeah, Clemson. I'm sure they don't want to get too far ahead of themselves until they have a secured commitment, because they were expected to be crystal ball leader for Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson went to Duke, so I mean, despite things looking very good for Clemson in the cancel visit, I'm sure they want to just kind of hold their breath and wait until they get that commitment in the fold. But that'd be huge for Brad Brownell and the Evansville natives down there. That'd be a big get for his program at Clemson.
It just shows you how quickly things change on the recruiting trail. You think somebody's going someplace, DJ Carton in Michigan, boom, Ohio State, and then this as well. So things change. So it's a game that is very fluid and always moving.
Yeah, things can change at the snap of a finger in recruiting, and it's just there's been some crazy changes over the years in recruiting. Where there's things that have shifted from recruitment in a certain direction, and I think that's what makes it a lot of fun to cover. Is you never know what's going to happen, and you always have to get to the bottom of it.
Drew Davis from Pigs.com. We appreciate you joining us as you do each week, man. We look forward to talking to you again soon.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later this week.
Have a good one, Drew. Drew Davis from Pigs.com. You can check out all his stuff there at Pigs.com, where they'll keep you up to date on everything. The college football coaches poll came out. I mentioned that earlier. A college football weekend with interesting results, but few upsets produced little movement in the Amway coaches poll, with the top 10 teams unchanged. Alabama retains the number one spot after a dominant non-conference triumph against Arkansas State. The Crimson Tide received 59 out of 63 first-place votes. Clemson, what was that?
It means there's still 4 on Clemson.
Oh, I was just going to say, Clemson, they remain number 2 after a narrow road escape at Texas A&M. I don't know how they're still there. Is this last week's?
Sounds like last week.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
I don't think it comes out till later today.
Well, it usually came out the night before, but not much change, like I said, up there. Alabama just rolling along at the top. Ohio State is the team to me that they were having a little trouble with TCU, but TCU hadn't given up hardly any points this year, so they were playing a good team. But then all of a sudden they erupt, and they scored, 32 points in the third quarter?
Yeah, it was
They
pretty
scored
insane,
like 3 touchdowns in 4 minutes.
Yeah.
I
turned it on and TCU was up. I was like, all right.
Cool. Boom, 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 all of a sudden.
And then it became the J.K. Dobbins show. That kid's so good. They're running back.
Yeah, and how about that quarterback, too? I mean, they're
Haskins.
getting great play. So the fact that they were slipping a little bit behind Georgia, it cracks me up. Ohio State has looked as dominant as Alabama has. So how they're not 1 and 2, I mean, I'm not saying they should be number 1, but Clemson, they barely got out of Texas A&M with a win.
Yeah.
So why these people, they're just on this Clemson bandwagon and won't give it up.
You think it's a pride thing? They put them there at the beginning of the season, don't want to move them now?
No, I think they just think they know everything. It's not that Clemson's not a good team. It's just that, hey, go by what you see on the field.
Yeah.
Alabama's destroying people. Ohio State destroying people. Those are your top 2 teams. Clemson, they escaped.
Yep.
So
you're not wrong.
that's just how
Joker texts in, says the Ohio State defense scored 14 points.
Yeah, I mean, they're good on both sides of the ball, man.
Yep. 502-414-1450 if you want to text in as well. Like Joker, we also have a text from Joe. Joe texted in and said, Ramsey has always been my guy, but he proved he was the leader of the offense Saturday. Luke Timian is a beast, and the old school block eye helmets are awesome. 3-0, let's keep it rolling. I agree with the block helmets.
I do. It's funny you say that, and that Joe said that. Thanks a lot, both you guys, for texting. We appreciate you listening. When I was walking around before the game Saturday, I was doing some live video stuff, doing the parade, and I noticed the older guys, the hats they wear, block eye.
Yep.
I swear to gosh, I noticed that Saturday. I'm like, And I like that hat, to be honest with you. Just that block eye, it's kind of cool looking. But I noticed it's all the older guys, so I'm like, yeah,
they don't want to
better
change.
not get one. But yeah, I like it. Yeah,
maybe you can get like a block eye flat bill, then you won't look old.
Something. But absolutely. Hey, I want to give a shout out to the Tim Tebow family. They were the big ticket winners from last week for the Ball State game. Went up, had a great time. Tim and his wife and his daughter got to go to the game. And they had never been to a game. That was their first game. So
that's awesome.
It is awesome. Big Hoosier fans. So congratulations to you guys, and we're glad that y'all could have a good time. We appreciate you listening, and glad that you got to go.
Not only have a good time, but see an ass whooping.
Oh, it was, man. Oh, it was good. But we may do it again for Michigan State. Who knows?
Be a little bigger.
It was successful.
We'd have to have a slightly harder question.
It would be. But, yeah, I mean.
Because that's going to be a fun game.
Oh, dude. All right. I haven't checked the weather. See if you can pull the weather up real quick for Saturday. But
I think it's supposed to be the same as it was this past Saturday.
If it is, it might be nuts. I mean, the time is perfect. You got a 7:30 kickoff. All right, so you get to start tailgating at noon. You don't have to get up at 6 in the morning and do all this stuff. You get to tailgate all day and not have to get there to crack of noon or crack of dawn. I was thinking about when I like to wake up, crack of noon. But you don't have to get there to crack of dawn. And then you can still tailgate all day. The only thing is, of course, it's going to be 11 o'clock when the game's over. But, man, that's setting up to be a big, big day. Big day. And Indiana's 3-0. Woo!
Showing rain in mid-70s. But that could change.
How much rain are we showing?
It's not thunderstorms, just rain. But it's not. That doesn't show sprinkles either.
It can't predict it that far out.
Nah, yeah, we'll see.
So, mid-70s. Hello, baby. Football weather.
Yep.
Woo-hoo! A fall evening game at Memorial Stadium. Michigan State, a team that Indiana has historically had some success knocking off in the past.
Yep.
Played them extraordinarily well last year up in East Lansing.
It seems like the last 5 or 6 times they've played, even going back to when Le'Veon Bell was at Michigan State, it seemed like Indiana played him really well.
Who?
Le'Veon Bell.
Who?
Exactly.
Quitter? He's another quitter.
I'm not ready for a Le'Veon Bell rant. Somebody asked me about it yesterday when I was watching the games, and I think he thought I was crazy when I said my response.
What was your response?
Get him out of here. Yeah, just quit crying. You want to make $15 million instead of $14 million. You're playing a game for a living. Shut the hell up.
Yeah, unbelievable. But man, it's going to be a huge, huge game this week. We got Sammy Jacobs coming up. He'll be up next, as a matter of fact. We'll get to talk. We'll talk a lot more about the game last Saturday, and it was an impressive performance. If you got any questions for Sammy, fire them in on the text line 502-414-1450. As well, Don Fischer's on the program today as well. Any questions for Don? Shoot them in. I'll let you ask a question. So fire that stuff along. Also, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Indiana Sports Beat. You can sign up at indianasportsbeat.com to have each and every show delivered to you. You can also follow us on iTunes and Google Play, where you can do the same. Sign up to have the podcast of the show sent to you. Make sure you leave us a review. We'd appreciate it. It makes it a lot easier for us. But we thank you for all that. And like I said, shoot those questions in on the text line, 502-414-1450. We've got Sammy Jacobs coming up from the Hoosier Huddle. We'll be talking about the game this past weekend. We've got John Boel coming up after that. Talk about the Big Ten in general. Wisconsin took it on the chin. They're another one that took a big loss. Wow. And then Don Fischer, of course, on the program today, as we'll also talk about this past week's game, and I'll remind him about that great call on Jay-Sean Harris. Run back. That was incredible. But we still got a lot of show coming up here today, so make sure you stay tuned. We've got a ton more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat. Justin Kalen will keep spinning the tunes, and we'll be back with a lot more right here on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Today's guest is brought to you by Kentuckiana's Premier Truck Center, located 5 miles north of downtown Louisville, just off of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle here on Big X Sports Radio, joined now by Sammy Jacobs from Hoosier Huddle. Sammy, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. How are you, Jim?
Good, brother. Very nice win by Indiana over the weekend. It's not that I didn't expect them to win, or most people didn't expect them to win, but it was how they did it. It was just a very palpable feeling of control of that game.
Yeah, it was 38-10. The game was pretty comfortably in hand by halftime at 24-3, and that the touchdown that IU gave up probably shouldn't have happened if you ask Coach Allen, and then the guy clearly dropped the ball before the end line too, because that could have bailed IU out of giving up 10 points. But that game was as comfortable of a win that IU's had in a long time.
Yeah, and the thing that struck me, and I know it struck a lot of people, which is even more amazing to me, but it was just painfully obvious that Peyton Ramsey is the quarterback for this team right now. He is the leader. He is the one that they respond to, and he does the job of what Tom Allen wants them to do, getting first downs, scoring points.
Yeah, I mean, there was never any debate on Peyton Ramsey's leadership skills or whether or not he could run the offense. It was more of, what's his ceiling and can he stretch the field enough to keep teams from loading the box. Now, there are physical limitations with Peyton Ramsey that other quarterbacks on the roster don't have, but, he has a great command of the offense. The players around him buy into his leadership really, really well. He's a student of the game, and, he was impressive last week as well.
Yeah, and now moving up in play this week, start Big Ten play, Michigan State coming in. There's other games behind that. You got Iowa, Michigan, Ohio State. Some very, very good defensive teams coming up. And obviously Peyton Ramsey did a masterful job running the offense Saturday. But can he do that against those bigger, faster, tougher defenses if he does not get that ability to stretch it long down the field?
I mean, that's the million-dollar question. And I think the answer would be no. We saw that last year. He couldn't stretch the field against Michigan State. They loaded the box. He missed a couple deep throws that if he had hit them, IU probably wins that game. He does look to have better arm strength this year than last year. He had a couple, not deep throws, but throws down, between 15 and 20 yards to guys who were open. Made a nice throw into the bucket to Matt Bjorson, who made a really nice catch on that ball too. But I think, I've got to see Peyton Ramsey throw the deep ball.
Talking to Sammy Jacobs from Hoosier Huddle. Because that's my biggest fear is he looked great throwing those 5-10 yard out and crossing pattern passes, but when you got to throw one 30, 35 yards downfield, that's what I want to see, because that's what's going to take, and I was talking about that earlier. You can have they've got a great mix right now, balanced offense, run to pass, but that's just with all short game passes. They have not gone deep yet. They haven't had to, but they're going to have to start now we get into Big Ten play. And they have the receivers, but if they don't put them to use, I think it's going to come back to haunt them.
Yeah, the receiving corps really stepped up and really good. You have Westbrook and Donovan Hale, who are bigger receivers, who are deep threats who can go up and grab it. Reese Taylor has played really well. Luke Timian is set. It became, I think, the 22nd or 23rd player in IU history with 100 catches and 1,000 career yards receiving. So they have the weapons there. They just have to use them.
Yes, Stevie Scott, another nice day. He goes over 100 yards, becomes just the fourth Hoosier to ever do that as a true freshman with back-to-back 100-yard games, and he does it faster than any other true freshman in IU history. So that was looking good. Ronnie Walker comes in. His first touch, career touch, is an 18-yard touchdown. At one point, you had Stevie Scott, Ronnie Walker, and Michael Penix running in and out of that offense, which is a very, very good sign for IU's future.
Yeah, it was good to see Ronnie Walker. That's half of the comments that I get on Twitter. Is, where's Ronnie Walker? Why isn't he playing? So, he scored a touchdown in his first touch. Looked to run the ball hard. Stevie Scott ran really, really well on Saturday. They didn't use him as much, only 18 carries, but that's fine. Save his legs for the rest of the season. And it's just impressive what this offensive line is doing too. Go back and watch the game, and they have some of these end zone angle replays, and you could drive a truck through a lot of the holes that are created by this offensive line. So let's not forget about that. The offensive line who struggled so much last year.
My very next point I was bringing up, Sammy, is that the offensive line really, really set the tone for that game.
Yep, they've put in the work in the off season, and it's crystal clear that they're a lot better than last season. Notre Dame had trouble running against Ball State, and IU ran for, I think, 255 against the Cardinals, and has averaged over 200 yards rushing all season. So a tremendous job by them.
And they've done a great job protecting the quarterback, protecting Peyton Ramsey from hitting the ground when he has passed the ball, which that's going to get a keener test again now that we bump it up to Big Ten play, and hopefully that can continue because that's going to be a crucial part. If they can't protect the quarterback, then IU will have more problems than going downfield or not. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, anytime you get tackle for loss and get behind the sticks a little bit, then you need a big play on offense. And if you're not throwing the ball deep, it's just that much harder to get done. I think they've let up one sack all year, and that was in the first game. Peyton Ramsey's feet help him there as well, and he knows when to take off. Michael Penix has done a pretty good job as a freshman getting the ball out quickly and knowing when to run when he's in trouble as well. So
IU certainly trending in the right direction on both sides of the ball. The defense, a lot of questions coming into the season. Lost 8 starters from last year. A great defense that they had, but knowing when you had Tom Allen there, you expected good things, but not sure that they'd look quite this good this soon. They're doing a pretty good job on filling in those holes on the defensive line and at linebacker.
Yeah, the defensive line I was never worried about. Coach Hagan does a great job with the talent that he is given. And then he's starting to recruit better and better talent. Now that young talent is getting on the field, getting experience, and getting playing time. And, to me, the biggest play on defense of the game, to me, was when James Head was spying on Riley Neal at a linebacker position. Now, normally he plays defensive end, but he dropped back into the pass coverage, spied Riley Neal, saw him running, and had the closing speed. And we saw Riley Neal run past some guys on Saturday as well, and run him down, force the throw away, and I believe the next on that punt, Jay Sean took it back for a touchdown. So these young defenders are coming along nicely. It's something that we all talked about. It's why playing not a soft schedule, but playing these non-conference games and playing these winnable games early and getting people in the game early, it was gonna get IU through these growing pains, and they got through 3-0. So they are where they need to be, where they want to be, and hopefully they have enough teaching tape and teaching material to get these young guys ready for Michigan State next week.
Yeah, they've certainly done everything that they needed to do. They're 3-0 non-conference play, finished non-conference play 3-0. They're halfway to bowl eligibility with a team that is just playing pretty well, and they're playing against a Big Ten conference that, as vaunted as it is, taking a few hits in the last couple of weeks, not looking as solid as we most of us thought it was going to be this year.
Oh yeah, the Big Ten took a lot of hits, and the criticism of the conference is rightfully so. I mean, Northwestern blew a 21-3 lead at home to Akron, who hadn't beaten a Big Ten team since like 1894, and the Big Ten didn't even exist then, and Akron was called some other college. Purdue sitting at 0-3 with 3 close losses. Rutgers went to Kansas and got thumped 55-14. Illinois put up a good fight against South Florida, and then you see Maryland gets beat by a bad Temple team after everybody anointed them as, maybe they're a sleeper team in the East to upset some people. Michigan State is struggling. Michigan hasn't, they haven't beaten anybody, and when they played a good team, they didn't look good. Wisconsin went down at home. They ended their 41 game non-conference home game winning streak, and IU took it, or not IU, but IU, kind of carried the banner for the Big Ten with Ohio State, but the Big Ten took it on the chin this weekend pretty well.
We'll look forward to Friday talking about the upcoming game with Michigan State, a game that is looking a lot more winnable for the Hoosiers now, and an opportunity to start 4-0 for the first time in, I'd have to look it up, and 1-0 in Big Ten
2015.
2015. Yeah. All right. Well, it's not as far back as I thought it would have been, but great opportunity to get a win, and I think that they can do that. But we'll talk about that on Friday. Sammy Jacobs from Hoosier Huddle. Thanks a lot, brother. Appreciate you joining us.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Talk to you Friday.
Absolutely. Again, Sammy Jacobs from Hoosier Huddle. Check out the free content with him. Full coverage of Indiana Hoosier football program. He'll be back with us on Friday to preview the Michigan State game, a game that I'm looking forward to now because that is a very, very winnable game, especially with Indiana playing the way they are. We're going to hit a quick break. When we come back, we've got John Boel from Wave 3 News to be joining us. Stay tuned here on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. We're coming right back.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
Today's guest is brought to you by Kentuckiana's Premier Truck Center, located 5 miles north of downtown Louisville, just off of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle here on Big X Sports Radio. Joined now, as always, by John Boel from Wave 3 News. John, how is it, my friend?
I'm an angry man still, man. Day later.
Was this having to do with yesterday or with Saturday?
Yesterday.
Okay, because of Saturday, Wisconsin lost, so I thought that may have been...
No. Wisconsin got beat by a better team. Wisconsin got manhandled, humiliated. Their NFL offensive line got pushed around all day by bigger dudes from BYU. BYU was better. Wisconsin's just not that good. That's why nobody should ever pay attention to the preseason polls when no one has any data to go on.
The Big Ten taking it on the chin, man. They had a lot of losses. Nebraska loses again at home to Troy this time. There's no drama left. There's no drama left in college football. It is over. The playoff spots are even secured. I mean, Bama's not going to lose to anybody except maybe like the Patriots. The Clemson's got no ranked teams left in their schedule, so they'll run it. Ohio State's the only good team in the Big Ten, so they'll run it. So there's 3 spots. Then your 4th is going to go to probably Georgia
or LSU, but probably Georgia. So that's it.
Yeah, you
like the
got
college football season's already set.
Yeah. We can take the next 8 weeks off.
Yeah, no, I mean, there are sub-storylines like how many, I think an intriguing storyline is how many games U of L is going to lose now. I think they're going to lose a lot.
Wow.
Like they should have lost. They should have lost Saturday. I watched that game.
Yeah, they barely got by Western Kentucky.
Yeah, they're really awful. So, I mean, there's really nothing left, man.
It's looking forward to the Indiana Hoosiers. They're off to a 3-0 start, which is unusual for them. But this could be a good year for them because of the Big Ten being down a little bit. They got a Michigan State team coming in next week that struggled to beat Utah State over the weekend and lost last week. So they've got a shot. They're playing well with a very young team.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I will still watch college football. I will not. Mark my words. What is today? The 17th of September.
Yeah.
I will not watch one play of the NFL for the rest of the season. I'm starting my own personal boycott. I don't care. Second straight week in a row that a team has lost a game because of this pathetic refereeing protecting quarterbacks. Cleveland last week, Green Bay yesterday. Everybody on the planet, except for this ref, Tony Corriente, who threw the flag on the game-sealing interception by Green Bay, who threw the flag on Clay Matthews, everybody in the world sees what a fraud that was, what a theft.
I did not know. Him. I did not know that there was an interception on that play. I wasn't watching the game. I saw the play that they flagged him for, Clay Matthews, and it was kind of similar to the one, the Louisville, Alabama play, but the guy was a little higher, but where the Louisville player tackled him by the ankles, they called him for roughing the passer, and he does pretty much the same thing. He hadn't even thrown the ball. Clay Matthews already committed to tackle him, and he just tackles him with a normal tackle, shoulder into the gut, takes him to the ground, and that was it.
Yeah, this was a little bit different than that play in that guy was whistled for going low. Well, the reason he went low is because the quarterback jumped in that Alabama Louisville play. No, there were two calls in the game, one against Minnesota and then one against Green Bay, where the guy's already committed to tackling, and the act of tackling the quarterback as his arm is in the throwing motion. And in the Clay Matthews case, he didn't go high, he didn't go low, he moved his helmet out of the way, he went midsection. He even braced his fall, put his arms out so he wouldn't get called for putting your weight on the guy.
Yeah, I saw that.
And Jair Alexander picked it off. Game's over. Like minute left, game would have been over. And instead, the crowd's going crazy, and they go back, and he's throwing a flag. And now his explanation this morning is it's what's called burping the quarterback. That he burped him.
Man,
burped him.
They must have people sitting in rooms locked in there with styrofoam cups of coffee coming up with these terms.
Yeah. No, listen, man. Cleveland, the league came out last week and admitted they made a mistake. I'm sure they're going to come out this week and admit they made a mistake. I thought it would be like mid-season before this thing we've been complaining about over the last year, this babying in the NFL, would actually literally cost a team a game. It's happened twice in the first 2 weeks, man. I'm out. I'm done. I can't watch anymore. There were so many calls in that game, both ways.
Then you had the clown in the Atlanta Falcons Carolina game that hit Cam Newton. Cam Newton goes into the foot first slide. This guy drills him right in the chops.
Well, that was easy, and that's illegal, and you can't do that. But there was a hitting a defenseless receiver call against Minnesota. That was not two guys going up to hit a guy going across the middle. I mean, I'll tell you what the affect of this is. There was a play earlier in the Green Bay game, for anybody who saw it, where the defenders now are so afraid of getting flagged that a defender is blowing through his blocker. He gets up and he nails Kirk Cousins in the chest, and because his head's a little bit down and can't see, he's afraid that maybe Cousins threw the ball in his throwing motion. So he stops, dead on, stops his play, and didn't tackle him, didn't do anything because he's afraid of getting flagged. But Cousins had not thrown the ball, he pulled it back down and ran for like 10, 15 yards down the field. The defenders literally can't play football anymore. And so I am out, man. I'm not going to invest 3.5 hours of my time watching a game, watching a team legitimately win, and then have it all taken away because of some bizarre burping the quarterback in this case, or whatever the call is, man. It's a joke, and I'm going to find something better to do with my time.
Did you see the punt run back in the Arkansas North Texas game?
Yeah, I thought the guy took a heck of a chance.
Oh my God,
doing that.
You're standing out there naked. You're standing out there so naked on that island.
But again, listen. The explanation. I heard a great explanation afterward. You know why those guys? Normally, those guys would have teed off on him. But why did they not tee off on him?
Kind of why I brought that up.
I might get flagged.
Yeah.
I might get flagged. I better not hit anybody in football anymore. I might get flagged.
Yeah, kind of why I brought that up. But it was amazing how easily they went away from not. Normally, you're getting calls from guys hitting them too much, and now they went the other way. So maybe it is having too much of an effect in the wrong direction. Yeah,
I mean, for me it is, and I've been watching it off and on. I've watched a little bit less NFL football lately because what happened like last season several times. I'd flip on whatever game. You know, I don't have NFL tickets, so whatever game they're showing locally, and I'd be watching, and I'd see guys getting flags on defense for run-of-the-mill plays, and I literally would turn the channel off and go do something. Well, now, dude, I'm going to be a rotten sports talk show guest because I am not watching NFL football anymore. That's unless they change things. And there's so much wrong with the NFL. Not just that. At the end of the game, Green Bay, and many teams have to do this, Green Bay won the game on a 52-yard field goal. But a microsecond before he actually kicks it, Vikings call timeout. So then the ball sails through the uprights. He goes through the whole process of kicking a 52-yard field goal, has to do it again. Misses it the second time. Because the NFL allows these teams to call a timeout. They should make them call their timeout before the ref sets the ball live for play. Like, if you're going to freeze the kicker, but don't make everybody go through the motions and expending your leg and doing everything and kicking it. It's just the odds of being able to make that twice in a row are terrible. Like, that's a flaw. There's just so many flaws, man.
Well, I'm sure they'll be changing that to another no-fun league rule sometime soon. But, yeah, they always seem to be doing something that take away a lot of the fun. But at least you got college football to look forward to. And college basketball. No, I know. And college football, for some reason, some strange reason for me, became my favorite within the last couple of years. I for whatever reason, I look more forward to sitting down on Saturdays now than Sundays to watch college football. There's just it's I know why it is.
Wisconsin.
It's no. I enjoy watching like a LSU Auburn game. I flip around. I'll even flip away from Wisconsin if the game's getting a little bit out of hand. I want to see drama. What I love about college football is every week matters. Every game matters. You know.
And you never know who's going to win. There are legitimate upsets that happen each and every week. Troy beating Nebraska at Nebraska. That's an upset.
Right. But the main thing is, as everybody argues about this 4-team versus 8-team. Here's a great example of why I'm on the 4-team side than 8. If it was 8 teams, I wouldn't have really watched the Wisconsin game with much care because I would have known, all right, Wisconsin loses this but runs the table, gets to the Big Ten championship. They'd probably get it. They might be able to backdoor their way in with an 8-team playoff. But that game meant a whole lot more because that's it. Wisconsin's out now. And all these games mean a whole lot more because it's a 4-team playoff, not an 8.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I don't think there's 8 teams worthy of it this year, at least not right now.
No, it's clear cut. There's going to be 4, and I already went into which 4. And yes, bizarre things can happen. Georgia can lose some games, I guess. Ohio State, I guess, can lose at Penn State, maybe, but it's all highly doubtful.
John Boel, Wave 3, anything you working on you can talk about, or are you still on double secret probation?
Yes, I can tell you what I'm working on now. I'm working on a story that will air soon here this week or early the next on the I'll just put it on the needle exchanges. Some complaints about the needle exchanges some people have in one certain part of town, and I'm looking into it and finding there is validity to their complaints.
Check that out on Wave 3 News, 6 and 11 with John Boel. As always,
all right, guys.
We appreciate you joining us, man. Thank you so much, John.
Be good. Have a great day. Don't burp
week.
anybody. Don't burp anybody. All right.
Oh, John Boel from Wave 3 TV, NBC Channel 3. Yeah, burping. That's That's like you used to have the birthers when Obama was in office. Now you got the burpers in the NFL.
Yeah, I was just reading that article. John put it up on Twitter about Clay Matthews burping.
I see. I didn't hear that. I saw the play and all that, and I did not realize that was a game-clinching interception on that play. I'm glad I wasn't watching that game. I get his frustration. That would drive me, because that's his team, of course, the Packers. But that would drive me nuts. It's insane. It's crazy.
I mean, even when it's not your team and you're just watching the game just for leisure, it's annoying. I mean, you're interrupting. Not only are you interrupting game flow, you're interrupting any. What's the word I'm looking for?
Fun.
No. I can't think of it.
But anyway, make sure, thanks a lot for tuning in to us. Make sure you follow us on IndianaSportsBeat.com. You can have every episode delivered to you. Also, we're on Facebook. You can follow us there. Also, iTunes and Google Play. You can have it delivered to you on the iPad, or on the podcast, rather. So give us a review as well. We appreciate it. Give us a text if you've got a question for Don Fischer coming up, 502-414-1450. Understand we have a few texts, Justin?
We do have a few texts. Mad Dog texts in and says, maybe the people that have Clemson number 2 hate Ohio State like I do.
Very possible.
And then Tim texts in and says, thanks again, guys. Big X and Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. We could not believe how small the field looks in person. I kept telling my wife it is 100 yards.
Yeah, when that thing, I'm telling you, when it's enclosed now, and that makes such a visual difference.
Yeah.
But congratulations again to the T-Balt family. They got to go to their first IU football game, courtesy of Bubba's 33.
That's too cool. And
India Sports Beat. So happy to make that happen.
Absolutely.
And by Vic Rose. I got to give a shout-out to Vic. Yeah, that's awesome that got to go down. But we'll be doing that again. Maybe this week. I'm not sure. I'll have to find out soon.
Josh texts in as well and says, Michigan State's elite run defense will limit what we can do. Dinking and dunking won't get it done. The passing game needs to be more aggressive to win.
See, I agree, man. I've been on the I want to see Michael Penix thing all year long until I saw him this weekend for a half. And it was okay, but maybe it would be better if he got to play more. But in that game, it was clear to me that Peyton Ramsey had a little bit better control of the offense, although Penix led him on a scoring drive. So it's not like he did anything wrong. But I agree. That's why I asked Sammy that. It's, those 5-10-yard passes ain't going to get it done, man. No. That's the thing. You've got all the tools in place. You've got a great running game now with some running quarterbacks. Stevie Scott and Ronnie Walker, what a tandem that is becoming. Then you've got a great receiving core. But you've got to use them to the fullest extent to beat these top 4 teams of the Big Ten East.
Yep.
And so, they'll get their first dose of it next Saturday. Indiana hosting Michigan State at 7:30 at Memorial Stadium in Bloomington. You can catch that game right here on Big X Sports Radio. Coverage starts at 6:30 with Don Fischer, who's coming up next right here on the program. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And if you've got any questions, shoot us on the text line, 502-414-1450.
Speaking of Josh, big Raiders fan, so I'm going to throw this stat out for him. Derek Carr yesterday became the first player in NFL history to complete at least 90% of his passes in a game in which he had 30-plus attempts. It's 29 of 32 passing. How crazy is that?
Pretty good. And, I watched the end of that game. They lost on a last-second field goal. John Gruden, like you mentioned earlier, making his John Gruden faces.
And then also Captain Andrew Luck, I thought, had a really good tweet after their win yesterday. Said, Dearest Mother, I write with stupendous news. Our unit was victorious in battle. The feeling is thrilling. My sidearm was true and my soldiers brave. I shall celebrate with a bath and a bottle of squirrel oil. Our journey is bright. I miss you.
Oh, love me some Captain Andrew Luck. It's awesome. That's a great Twitter account to follow. Captain Andrew Luck, of course, on
Especially
Twitter.
if you're a Colts fan.
Oh,
Yeah, even if you're not a Colts fan, it's still
he's got
hilarious.
250,000 followers. I got news for you. Those are not all Colts
Yeah,
fans.
no way.
He's just a hilarious. Those. What a great account that is. Great character.
Those are the best Twitter accounts, the ones that you really don't know who it is, but they're hilarious.
What are you interested in hearing from Don Fischer today?
Me?
Unless you got somebody in there with you.
Not that I know of. I'm just his overall thoughts on the game. I mean, it was a pretty impressive 38-10 win, like we've said. I don't know that anybody thought that. Vegas certainly didn't think that. They only had Indiana as a 14-point favorite. So I'm just interested to hear his thoughts on the game, how it went.
That could have been a bigger spread. There was one time they were driving, and Stevie Scott fumbled. It was his first and only fumble of the year so far, but he got hit from behind. But he was down around the 10-yard line, 11-yard line, I think, when he fumbled the ball. They would have scored again. So it could have been a much bigger margin. Not only that, they only scored once in the second half because they ran, or once or twice. They ran their they scored. They scored twice, 2 times, I think. Because I know Michael Penix led them on a scoring drive where Ronnie Walker scored from 18 yards out.
Yeah, he scored 2.
And then the other quarterback, the third-string quarterback, led them on a scoring drive as well, which they scored.
The third string threw the ball?
Because
they don't have him marked down for any stats.
No, he didn't throw the ball.
Was that Mike Fiacable?
Yes, he's
He's been
walk-on.
He's been there a while.
But anyway, he led him on a scoring drive as well. But pretty good. They only played all second stringers in the second half. So they probably could have scored a lot more points than that even, which is even more impressive.
Yep.
Considering you're balancing this against Notre Dame, the Notre Dame game the week before, and you can't do that completely. It's just a gauge to use. But I'd say that I wish I could have been in the press conference with Mike New, the coach for Ball State, and I'd like to have asked him, how do you compare those two teams? I'd like to have seen what he had to say.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned they only played the second stringers in the second half. Indiana won the second half 14-7. So Indiana only lost by 1 point more than Notre Dame won with their second string.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. But like I said, we're going to get a chance to find out this weekend because this is the true test. Michigan State Spartans are coming in, currently ranked 24th after they tumbled about 9 spots after losing to Arizona State last week. So they were much higher ranked than that. But the Big Ten overall has taken a huge hit.
Michigan State, by the way, was off this week. Minnesota was the 5th winner.
There you go. Another game on IU's slate as well.
Yep.
So we'll talk about all that with Don Fischer. He's coming up on the program here next. So stay tuned right here on Indiana Sports Beat. Don Fischer's up next. Hey, if you're in the market for a new truck or tractor, car, or ATV, you need to be at Hollis Auction Service on November the 10th. Located on Highway 150 in Greenville, just west of Highway 335, Hollis Auction Service also needs items for the auction. If you're looking to sell, call Billy Joe Hollis today at 502-664-1606. That's 502-664-1606. Make sure you're at Hollis Auction Service in Greenville on November 10th. Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, and beer, and over 40 flat-screen TVs to watch any game you like at I-65 and Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33. Pizza, burgers, beer. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle here on Big X Sports Radio, 1450 96.1, and now joined by the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer. Don, how are you this week, sir?
I'm well, Jim. How are you?
Great. What a great game for the Hoosiers over the weekend. And one part, Don sits in the radio booth up in the press box. They kind of have them sealed away in a little bit, but that press box is kind of a tomb. You can't hear much up there. And for the first time ever, when Jay Sean ran that punt back, I heard Don Fischer giving the call, and it was spectacular. That was a great run back.
Well, I don't think there was any question that Jay Sean Harris was special in that ball game, and almost had another one too. But unfortunately, a penalty negated that long punt return. But that said, it was so much fun Saturday. I think from an Indiana fan perspective, you've got to look at the whole picture and what has happened in years past and the struggles that this program has had. And then you see a team that comes out and not much is expected of them at the beginning of the season, and all of a sudden they're 3-0. And to me, that's what's the fun part of this thing right now, is because this football team, I think, is in many people's minds exceeding expectations, and they're just fun to watch. And each ball game that they've played, they just seem to have gotten better. And so right now I guess we're in the throes of feeling that this is a football team that may be a lot more talented, a lot better than many people thought. And at the same time, it's a ball club that now will get into the real part of the season, and we're going to find out exactly where they're at.
Exactly, and you talk about exceeding expectations. Not only have they done that, and I asked Coach Allen in the press conference afterwards, I know coaches aren't ever surprised on how well their teams do, but with the fact that they've lost their numbers 1 and 2 running backs basically before playing a half of a game in the season, and how good this offense looked Saturday, to me, I was very impressed.
Well, I don't think there's any question that and I don't know if Coach Allen was surprised or not. I think there are things that do surprise coaches, but sometimes they play that off a little bit. But this team, and I, you got to give him the understanding that he's been around these kids since spring, a lot of them, and he's also been around most of the team since June. When they all report to camp or actually report to campus, and then they start playing 7-on-7 and those kinds of things, and he's getting reports. He knows that these guys have talent, and that there are a lot of guys on this team that are young, they're inexperienced, and yet they are very athletic, they're fast, they're faster than we've had, and guys that are there have gotten faster because of the strength and conditioning program that David Ballou has installed, along with Dr. Matt Ray. So there are so many positives that are going on right now with this football team and with this football program. And on Saturday, you saw that first half of football was very impressive. Peyton Ramsey was tremendous at running the team, at putting them in the spots that they needed to be, of calling the right plays and making the right reads, those kinds of things. There were so many good things. And granted, we don't know how good Ball State is. What we do know is that Ball State played the number 8 ranked team in the country, Notre Dame, right down to the wire, and actually outplayed them in some areas in their ball game. And then Indiana dominated this Ball State team. And that you can't make comparisons and things like that, but it gives you some kind of a read of where this team is at right now. And I think Indiana's in a really good spot.
Yeah, I talked to Sammy Jacobs earlier, and I talked to him. They're trending upwards on both sides of the ball. And not only are they doing that, and I talked about how the offense is looking so prolific, and it's doing that after losing those 2 running backs, but it's also doing it with the fact a very young team. Peyton Ramsey, even though he's so experienced, he's a redshirt sophomore. Then you've got Stevie Scott, a freshman. You've got Ronnie Walker, a freshman. Reese Taylor, a freshman. It's unbelievable the youth movement they have.
And Ronnie Walker, of course, got his first playing time of the season on Saturday. A kid from Virginia who was a 4-star athlete. Everybody expected him to come on campus and immediately make an impact, and he didn't do that right away. But he got an opportunity Saturday for the first time to really go out and show what he's got. In the very first play that he carries the football, he runs it into the end zone. It was a very, very good performance by Ronnie, and it gives you hope that the running back position, which has been pretty weak at this juncture in the sense of numbers, has regained a little bit of that with a guy that's got some speed. And I think he can honk it up in there, too. He looks like he did a really good job of that on a couple of plays as well. So you're adding depth to the running area where rushing personnel that really looked like it was weak because of the the injury and the suspension. And we still don't know when or if Morgan Ellison's going to be back on this football team. But if he does come back, then you've really strengthened that position. So there are so many positives at this juncture. You mentioned the defensive improvement, too, because that number had been questioned a little bit because this team made some mistakes in the first ball game. They got a little bit better in the second ball game. Well, in this game, they were impressive. And here's one area that you can look at when you want to see if Indiana's making some progress on defense, and that's rushing the quarterback. In this game, they had 3 sacks against one of the better quarterbacks that Indiana's going to face this year, and Riley Neal. They sacked him 3 times. They had 7 tackles for a loss in this ball game. They obviously had another interception in this contest. They did such a good job in so many different areas. And the one area that Indiana really had struggled with probably the most, well, aside from rushing the quarterback, were the linebacking core. And the question on those guys was, are these guys going to make improvement? Are they going to be good enough? That kind of thing. All of a sudden, you're seeing not only Raekwon Jones and Damian Willis step up and be really solid performers at their respective positions. You're getting a bunch of freshmen that are now stepping in, and they're playing that position extremely well also. And Micah McFadden continues to make a play or two in each ball game. Cam Jones is another guy. And a guy named James Miller played Saturday as well. So they're all different kinds of personnel and different people that are starting to step up. And that's the other thing about the ball game on Saturday. Tom Allen, I don't know what the actual number was. I haven't counted that up yet. But Indiana must have played another 65 or 67, 68 guys in this ball game, and there were 4 or 5 or 6 new faces that have never played before that got into action. So we are seeing something we've just rarely ever seen in Indiana.
Yeah, and its ability to give that team a lot more depth, too, that hopefully they won't need, but it's always something that you need to have, especially once you get into Big Ten play. The one area we didn't talk about, there's probably the unsung heroes that did all the really getting everything started, the offensive line, opening up some huge holes for those running backs and protecting the quarterback. They've given up 1 sack in 3 games.
Well, and that's the other area that Indiana was hurt last year by injuries, and they didn't have the depth because they didn't have any experience in that depth or guys that had played very much. And so this year you've got guys that have played, guys that got opportunities last year to contribute. Now they're playing important roles in this football team. They're giving the starters, they're giving them opportunities to come off the field, giving them some rest. This is a much deeper football team. Tom Allen said that was one of the biggest issues going into this season that he hoped to improve was the depth of this football team. And I don't think there's any question we've seen a lot of that. Again, it's young, inexperienced guys, but athletic and talented kids that are starting to contribute in so many different ways. And I think the redshirt rule that came in this year to be able to play 4 games without having to burn a red shirt is such a critical factor. And obviously it's given Tom Allen an opportunity to utilize a lot more players than he normally would.
And a huge game coming up this week, Don, as they get into Big Ten play, and not just any Big Ten team, but one of the Big Four, Michigan State Spartans coming in. But a game that Indiana is very worthy of winning.
Well, there's no question. And Michigan State, speaking of injuries, has had more than their share. They've had a lot of opportunities to play a bunch of different guys in the offensive line because of injuries to people. They've had their running back, L.J. Scott. He's been out, or at least was out of the Arizona State ball game, and didn't play much. They've had some receivers hurt. They've had real problems stopping the passing game of other teams at this point, which may bode well for Indiana in this contest. But here's what you do have to know, too, that they had a bye week this past week. So after their first 2 ball games of the season, a very slim win over Utah State, and then a loss 16-13 to Arizona State, they've had a chance to get well this week. And it's going to be interesting to see how many things they change, because Mark D'Antonio is a really good football coach. He knows what he wants from his kids. He knows what he has. And they're always, even if they're not the most talented football team, they're one of the toughest football teams that Indiana's going to face this year. And if they've got people back that are healthy again and they've got their full complement of players, they're a very dangerous football team, and Indiana's going to have to play one of their best football games to win this contest.
Absolutely. Look forward to it. They have them at home this Saturday night. 7:30 is the kickoff. You can catch Don Fischer right here on Big X Sports at 6:30 for the pregame. Don, thank you so much for joining us as always.
I appreciate your having me, Jim. Thanks very much.
Have a great day. Don Fischer, the voice of the Indiana Hoosiers, joining us each and every Monday as he does at 7:45. You can catch him then. Catching us up on this past week's game, getting his thoughts. Love listening to him talk and getting his insights. But, yeah, that was awesome when he called that punt return. I've never been able to hear him through the glass, but
it's kind of surprising to me.
Oh, my God. It startled me. It was that loud.
I'm surprised that you've never heard him.
Well, it's pretty
tight.
They got him pretty tight in there, but yeah, it was hilarious. I think it must have caught him off guard a little bit because it went from 0 to 100 all of a sudden, boom, and you can tell when you listen to the playback when it happened. I'm like, oh yeah, that's when I heard it right there when he said he may break it. But that's gonna pretty much wrap it up for us here today on the show. We thank you a lot for joining us. Make sure you follow us on Facebook. We're right there, Indiana Sports Beat. Also on indianasportsbeat.com. You can go to iTunes and play Google Play. Have everything sent to you each and every day. You got Kentucky Roll Call coming up after us with TJ Walker and Nick Rouse. For Justin Kalen, I'm Jim Coyle, and we'll see you back here on the radio tomorrow. Have a great Monday.